Great.
We have everybody? No. Should we wait like 2 minutes
Yeah,
just
let's
so
wait a
everyone?
couple minutes. I'll take attendance. Oh, I haven't taken attendance in a while. How is everyone?
Good, mister, and you?
Pretty good. Yeah. Long days. You guys literally stuck in home all day, or are you not really self-isolating? Who else isn't? Carly, P, Meaty, Adenza. Who's here? Patterson. When you guys think it's good enough to go, you're welcome to
I
start.
think we should start. Pablo, take the floor.
Yeah, so do we start?
Yeah.
Sure.
All right. So this is pretty much very simple. So you should vote for us, or there shall be no Guamun. So first of all, we would like to Jimena and I congratulate Carly and AP, seeing that they did a good job being secretariat, secretary general.
Thank you. Gracias, Pablo y Jimena.
So like the things we should improve is mostly about the things we saw in Guamun 2020. It's like that.
Can I interrupt for a second?
Yeah.
Just so we are familiar, the format of this, so Pablo and Jimena are gonna run this presentation. Because there's like a lot of information that they want to go through. If you have things that you want to say, can you include it? Can you type it in the chat, and we can address those at the end, rather than interrupting and not finishing the presentation. So whenever something comes up, write it in the chat rather than interrupt, please. Okay, I'm going to mute mine so I don't.
Okay. So the uncertainty of money is something that we need to take into consideration, seeing that we weren't aware how the logistics and the finance teams were connecting. So like we need to make sure that we do have enough sponsors, enough funding, etc. So like we don't have any issues regarding a financial stance. So I believe that in the well-being of the secretariat, we need to be better at planning, seeing that there were many issues this year since Classroom was a tool that we did not use as well as we could have. This could be improved. We could have better planning of times, better deadlines, and Mr. Torres.
Because I think that if we have more, then we can divide the job.
Exactly. Easily. And yeah, so keeping participants engaged, well, this is very important, seeing that for Guamun 2020, the NGOs was a very hard thing for everybody to do, seeing that everyone was tired, everyone was exhausted. So we need to keep considering and seeing how can we keep the delegates engaged and still be focusing on the committee itself, not just making it all too fun or all too serious. We need to find the balance that allows us to use this. So, the delegate dinner, I think it's an important job for logistics, seeing how, well, this year it was good, but it could be better, seeing how the logistics team could divide itself into two parts that allows us that allows it to only focus on one thing rather than two at the same time. So that would be a pretty good idea. Do you want something to say, Jimena?
No, I'm fine. Thank you.
Good. So the food station, I believe, well, in my case, many of my delegates weren't involved in, they didn't like how there was a lot of line, so that many of my delegates didn't eat. So therefore, I think we should divide itself by its stations. So like have different food stations with different variety of food that allows us to.
We can have like waters and then one line,
Mhm.
and then one line meats, vegetarian options, you know.
Exactly. So in chairs, well, there were a lot of positive feedbacks regarding the chairs. I think this year we did a pretty good job in chair training, but I think it could definitely improve, seeing that we only had 1 or 2 days regarding the training. So this could be easily extended into a week and it could still be better. We could have chair training alongside the new delegates. So I spoken with the 8th grade teacher and Mr. Torres as well, and they are willing like to allow the MUN class to like in their simulation have a chair that's going to be in place, like formed, so that they can learn for all those new chairs that will join. And this is a very important note that needs to be addressed, how in this year's WAMUN there were many delegates among the secretariat team that were throwing tortillas. And also there were many complaints about the fact that many secretariat people were hangover. Specifically the chairs were hungover. So I think we do, even though that Guamun usually is in the same time as the pro graduation, we still need to keep into consideration the fact that this is not allowed, seeing like how we're trying to keep the people intrigued. Anything else to add, Jimena?
No.
So as I said before, we could easily use Google Classroom as a better tool. This gives us the opportunity to manage better the times instead of being all rushed at the end. And well, this is a very important key, seeing that in this Guamun, this was a very important thing that failed us, is the lack of communication between teams, between the leader and the people who work for the leader, alongside the leader. I think this could easily be improved, seeing that this could allow us to work better between teams. For example, there were so many problems where in the last day where the leader didn't communicate, and this created a lot of problems, seeing that nobody knew what to do or if the work had already been done. So I think this could definitely be improved. Anything to add, Jimena?
No.
Right. So this is the Guamun 2021 ideas that Jimena and I have in mind, so that this could easily be improved. So we would like to create something called the Guamun Legacy, where seeing that we already have a middle school section, a high school section, but this would only be for ex-alumni of the American School, where they could all have a committee, like for example, General Assembly, where they could just like be around all the seniors who are currently right now, could join all the ex-seniors that were seniors last year. I already spoken to many of them and they're very interested in joining. So, I mean, we do have a potentially creating a new committee, only focusing on ex-alumni, that I think this would open Guamun to having it, to make it bigger and still part of like the American School guidelines. Anything to add, Jimena?
Yeah, we would also have a chair as the ex-alumni, which would be really cool.
I think this could really help them all like join again. So chair training alongside new delegates. Well, I think this could be easily done, seeing that we could tell the 8th grade teacher to further communicate with with us and allow us when they're doing their simulation that our chairs may work instead of like her being the chair. We could ask one of us so that they can be the chair. So this could easily help like the chair training. This could easily really increase the learning and still, and it will allow like more communication between middle school and high school and like the Guamon Secretariat team, which I think it's essential. And with karaoke, I believe this part is very important, seeing that, well, this year, I liked the way Angel plays guitar, but I don't think it's a very well thing if you want the committees to really join and start speaking, you know, because we need to break that awkward silence that always happens in the beginning. So I think this is key of making it happen. So the guest speaker, we're thinking of like having someone who is affordable, but still like having the opportunity of having multiple speakers instead of only one. So instead of putting all our money in one place, Jimena, you wanted to say something?
Yeah, of course. So the idea is that instead of having one speaker, we have 3, the pre-speaker, like to fundraise, and then other 2, one for the opening ceremony, and then one to replace the NGOs.
Exactly. So that, and the thing we need to keep in mind is that they can communicate with teenagers, seeing that this was a problem. Well, in my case, I believe Karan was pretty good on paper. He was amazing. He had everything needed, but he didn't communicate as well with the crowd as many people believed he would. So I think we do need to keep this in mind, seeing that he could have easily done something better job. For example, Kumamoto, he really engaged with the students. Many people were eager to see him. Many people wanted to hear him. They had many questions. So I think we do need to keep this in mind whenever we're thinking of future speakers, so that it allows us the opportunity to keep everything engaged. Well, this is just an idea. It's nothing that we need to do like right now, but I believe it should be, we do need to keep into consideration the fact that we could improve the trophies for the best delegates, seeing that it could be better for the delegates, seeing like they have an actual physical award. I don't know, I think that they would really like it. And improving superlatives, well, it's just a little idea that could be improved.
This would just go to the people who are in the finance team, because we did have trophies planned for this year, but there wasn't enough money. So like trying to get some.
So we also chose and decided to create team building exercises. So this would be committees against committees. This could be a really good bonding idea for the committees itself, seeing that they could really join as a community and as a committee. So for example, we could have, well, this was applied in IMUNS, the MUN of Monterrey, and I think it was a very good idea, because not only did the committee join itself, it also like allowed like sportsmanship, and everybody was excited to go and see how their teammates are. So I think this would be a pretty good idea to keep in mind.
And also this year we got a lot of comments about there being like an extra time. So we would put like these team building exercises instead of one session, so that time is like exact. Instead of having just a free simulation.
Exactly. So trivia night, I believe we could organize better the dinner, as explained before, like the logistic team, have one specific team organizing the dinner. So making sure that there is bonding between each other, having fun, and of course the dinner, we do need to keep this professional, but still we need to find the balance between professional and fun. I think this part is.
And as well as optimal delegate training. So instead of also we could add a chair training, but for delegates, about what to expect, what to do for all of those who are new to the Guamon simulation, and that they are only joining for extra credit. I believe this could be a good opportunity to allow them all to experience the conference beforehand, so that people really know what to do instead of just being in their seat and not doing anything non-productive. I could believe this could be better for all of those involved. Do you like to add something, Jimena, or is that good enough?
No, go ahead.
Perfect. So I think this part, Mr. Torres is gonna say it.
So one of the things that we're looking into is changing up how the heads of departments are chosen. As you guys can see from even the change that we made in the Secretary General, that I do like I don't think we should just continue things the way they've been done just for the sake of, because that's how it's been done. So what I recommend is that we value that there are people returning to the Secretariat, and those people do have some experience in that department already. So why don't we build off of those experiences rather than letting them, like giving the heads of departments just to seniors who are doing their senior projects. So I want to give preference to returning Secretariat members to become the heads of the departments that they've already been active in. Or if they think they can do a good job in another department, that's okay as well. But that would allow us, that means that the heads of those departments can be open to underclassmen. And I think there's little minor changes to the number of leaders over here that we have, like the human resources having 2 leaders. I think that's a change. Logistics and planning. The idea is that we're splitting up, as Pablo had said before, the duties of them. I think the reason we're adding more leaders is honestly, sometimes these departments seem really big. Like whenever I had to ask, like, who does that fall under? And they're like, human resources. I'm like, God, every time I asked, it seemed like human resources did it. So I think it would be valuable for us to divide up the work in those, but make it clear. Like I don't want, when there's 2 leaders, yes, there's a danger of like who's doing what, but we just need to make it clear, like human resources, you're in charge of this part of human resources and that. AP and Carly had already talked about changing up the finance department to call it fundraising and accounting. So that the goal of that would be one person is devoted to raising funds, and the other one, like we know that they're handling the accounting, the billing, and like they know how much money's on hand, and what purchase orders have gone out. Hospitality, this is something we briefly talked about, but possibly having to like a setup like we do now with the leader and undersecretary, again, and first head leader and someone else. Again, it's kind of a big job. And publicity and tech, we were really pleased with everything that was created this year. So we think that there can probably be less work to do because so much has been done in that department this year. So
for human resources, the reason why there's 2 leaders is so that one can focus in el comité estudiantil, so it can be perfect. And then the other one, like it focuses on checking position papers and the rest. And then for logistics and planning, one for fundraising and for the other one like for checking money. And then that's for fundraising and accounting. And then for logistics and planning, we would have like a 1 leader focus on everything that's like the souvenirs and the goodie bag, and the other one to focus more on the delegate dinner. Exactly. And then hospitality, the under leader is just to check emails, like to make sure that there's no spelling mistakes, that it's going to the right address. And for publicity and tech was just 1.
So thank you. This is Jimena's emails. So if you have any question, please don't doubt to text Jimena, me, or Mr. Torres. That could easily be helped. So any questions, seeing that we do have a lot of time, that we did not thought we would make it?
yeah, we can do any discussion now for comments.
Mhm.
I do want to go back and just kind of address overall, like I don't think I was very useful this year. It was very much a learning year for me. So I'm excited to be able to bring more to the table this year, now that I understand much better about everything that goes into Guamun. So I'm very, very grateful to you all for being in the Secretariat. Um, yeah, and I'm looking forward to just continually improving Guamun each year.
Yeah.
So any comments, questions, etc. AP?
Okay.
No, you can mute.
Uh,
Yeah, we have time now if you want to
Yeah.
just talk.
I'll come back.
Okay, so do I just say it or do you want me to type it? Because I have it typed. 'Cause I'm
You
adding
can
notes.
say it.
I can send it both ways, so like
Ah.
you can have it both escrito and okay.
I mean, it's recorded, so.
Yeah.
Oh, true. Wait, I'm just quickly checking my notes. Okay, so my first thing, just a quick tip. Remember, like coming back to school, just check the count, because I think we have a lot of money. Because at the end, we started getting a lot of sponsors, and we had too much money. So I think we have like 50,000 pesos. I'm pretty sure.
Great.
So check the account. So that's a lot to start with. Because like this year we started with 1,000 pesos, I think. Like they left us with nothing. So yeah. Then I didn't get any complaints about chairs being hangovers, but that's a good point. But I did get complaints about delegates being hangover. So
I might have read that comment incorrectly because I said that to Pablo and Hime yesterday. I thought in that comment it was a chair.
I mean, we can't control delegates.
Yeah,
You know?
yeah.
because that's why I reacted kind of strongly. I was like, oh shoot, that's a big no. But
Uh-huh. So just a quick tip. Our pro for the seniors of this year wasn't on the weekend of Wamun because I talked with a GradCom with time, and I asked them to change the date so it wouldn't be on the same weekend of Wamun. So perhaps you could like Pablo start talking with your GradCom so they don't put your pro on the same weekend, because like that's a good point. Because last year in 2019, chairs did get hangover to Wamun, so because their pro was on the same weekend as Wamun.
Mhm.
And what I did different was talk with my GradCom. So maybe you can do the same thing.
Yeah.
that's
So
great.
just like, I talked to them like 5 months in advance to let them know like, oh, it's a senior project for many people. It's really important. And they were really understanding. So I see no problem with it. Another thing, this year we also tried an ex-alumni committee, but at the end it didn't happen because many of the past seniors were not in Guadalajara when Wamun was happening, and they told us like, oh, I would totally love to do it, but at the end they couldn't because they couldn't skip class if they were here in Guadalajara or they were not here in Guadalajara. So take that into consideration just for anything. Like it's a really cool idea. Like I would love to participate, but just like people have to coordinate with their classes or if they can skip class or anything. But just make sure of that. Okay. Okay, so for your guest speaker, I think it's a cool idea what you're trying to do, because that reminds me kind of iMoons, because they do that. But I think you should consider your guest speakers, and I agree totally with you with a more engaging guest speaker and everything, but try to bring someone with a renowned guest speaker, because that's the reason the American School of Monterrey came. The teacher told me that they were like, wow, they're bringing someone who's a bit renowned in the community, like he's known in the public eye. So perhaps like try to focus to bring someone engaging and at the same time, like if people know, just to take in consideration. And another thing, okay, and I think it's a great idea. Both Carly and I think that's a great idea for the leaders, for the departments to be like past secretariat members. And I totally agree. However, it worries me that seniors won't want to do one as their senior project since they won't have a leadership position. Because they probably connected with like, oh, I will be doing less work and maybe it won't be enough for my senior project. So maybe there will be less members in the secretariat.
I can make comment on that. I agree, and I think I agree. I don't think it's going to be a major change because we only have seven returning secretariat people, and I've contacted all of those people about which departments they would want to be a part of, or if they would actually want to be heads of the department. And it doesn't seem like there's going to be major conflicts that come out of it.
Oh, that's perfect then.
So I think there's
Like if you have that like logged in, that's perfect. But that, like, for future years too, like it's really important to take that into consideration.
Yeah, and I was wondering, and I agree. I wonder about the attractiveness to like new seniors who maybe did Guamun but weren't part of the secretariat. I think we can still carve out a way for them to be important in that committee or in that department without necessarily being the head of it.
Okay.
I'm toying with the idea, but I think at least this year, I think it'll work out fine.
And I have another question. What ideas do you have for like themes or like improving the topics or like adding a new committee or taking a committee out? Have you talked about that?
No, it hasn't come to conversation yet. I think that is something that we should talk to new secretariat to brainstorm and then assign them so that they can do their own position paper.
Exactly.
And personally, I like our focus on the SDGs.
Me too.
I think it's something that allows us to stay very focused on the UN, but also keep it broad enough that we have a variety of topics to choose from.
Okay. Yeah, I think, and that's a cool idea. Like, chair should do the background guides. I think. Did you say something about that? Because or just like a pro tip, like that I learned from IMUNS is that chairs do the background guides from their own committees. So, and another way you can continue to use Classroom is by turning in position papers early and with correct formatting. Because at the end, like I ended up doing like all the formatting for most positions for more background guides, and it was not even my job. So perhaps that's something you can use Classroom in a correct way, so people are like more in track and everything.
Any other questions or comments?
Carly said something about her microphone not working.
Everybody's in mute.
Carly, yeah.
But she said she seconds my comments.
I don't see. Okay, I don't see your other stuff.
Mute. If you want to unmute, you can just unmute it if you want to speak.
Not comments?
Let me see. Is that this?
Hey, Sergio and Lore, do you know how much money was left for us this year?
No.
They said around 50,000, but I don't think they know. Oh.
Fred, ¿qué dijiste?
Dije que después de Guamun no hemos checado la cuenta.
Okay.
One comment that I want to make I've told this to Pablo and Jimen, but it also goes out to people returning, is I think that this year, just in my personal life, like I've been a lot more, like I really like this idea of having a vision for like what you want out of whatever you're doing, like some goal to work for. And I hate calling it a goal, but I think a vision is a stronger word. And the idea being like, what do we want Guamun 2021 to look like? And if the vision includes international schools, like it needs to understand why does that necessarily make it better? And I'm not pushing us one way or another. I just want us to establish a vision and work towards that. And it does come from our leaders. It does come from Pablo and Hima to be like, our vision for Guamun 2021 is for us to have a more professionally run simulation that is fun and engaging from beginning to end. If that's a vision, awesome. That is a great vision, and we can like always everything from that vision, all the other departments can work towards that goal. Like we are staying professional and we're also keeping it fun and engaging. And that's what I think that is going to be something that I hope changes the culture, our working culture within our secretariat. Because I think without a vision, we kind of know what our jobs are, but we're just kind of like, that's it. It's a job. We're just like, oh, I need to get this done, but we're not working towards the vision. So one of the things I'm going to require Pablo and Hima is to articulate a vision, and I'll work with them on that. And from that, each of the departments will also incorporate what their vision is. I think for those seniors who are still putting together their senior projects and their presentations, I think this is super valuable to you. You need to go back and be able to say, like, we wanted to do this. That's the beginning of your presentation. And how did you get there? These are the steps I took to get there. And these are the outcomes. So just keep that in the back of your head. Yeah, I think visions and mission statements is another way people talk about it, are very powerful. And when they're done well, like a lot of organizations just make them and then that's it. They don't do anything with them. But I want it to be something that we can always refer to.
Oh, another thing that Pablo and I had talked about and didn't put here is that, well, they're not here, but we think that Arun and Claudina did so well this year. And so we got lucky that both of them were interested and participated, and because they were forced into our mentoring. But we were planning to talk to some 8th graders to see who's interested, so that we can kind of manipulate them into our mentoring instead of just having 2 random people who may be not even interested.
Actually, I have something to comment on that, porque many 8th graders were interested in joining it during WAMU, and so I was planning to contact an 8th grader and send a message on behalf of the Guamun Secretariat and ask como que put a number and give them a contact to talk to if they're in.
Yeah, that's a good idea. If they are asking you, then you can send them our number and be like, talk to them.
One of the next step, I assume, is that we do usually send a survey out to who's interested in joining the Secretariat, and we can easily include the 8th graders who are in the MUN class in that survey as well. So I think it's still valuable to get a personal reach out from Camila, but we can also include them in that survey. And I don't know, Pablo, do you have an idea about whether are we waiting to do that survey, or should we send it out and hope that?
Honestly, because I did have ideas, but with the quarantine that's happening right now, I don't know what would be more effective for allowing all students to see who wants to actually join and become part. So I think we do need to keep in mind that quarantine is going to be a problem right now for the new secretariat. So it's just right now brainstorming how can we communicate the most effectively with the new secretariat and who wants to join the new secretariat.
We could also send it out, see who responds, and send it out again.
Yeah, okay.
We don't
make a video,
what? It's about to end almost.
And then or we could even send a part of this, presenting WAMU.
Yes, I believe so.
Yeah, but I think you should send the form for new secretary members as soon as possible so you can start working. And I know there's several 10th graders who talk to me who are interested in being part of the secretariat, so you'll have new people to help too.
I also think that for 8th graders, we should have a more specific format to enter secretariat, because they don't want to be part of something even though they don't like MUN. So they would just join in and wouldn't even work. So I think that we should have to be more specific with them, this is what you have to do. It's a lot of work. Please stay mindful of that.
Yeah, and I've spoken with the 8th grade teacher before the quarantine, and there are a lot of interest about WAMU. So I also like told her the idea of like implementing new 8th graders into WAMUN, and they seemed like there were many encouraging people. But seeing that only 2 people can join from 8th grade, I think we do need to like make it still like, hey, if you want to join, you actually need to do that work instead of just like chilling around.
Oh, another thing, you please go talk with Miss Beland or Mr. Sink or Miss Millstone. I don't know, but that was a problem this year because they wanted to shift the mentoring type, like 2 seniors, 2 11th graders.
Mm-hmm.
They were trying to implement that for WAMUN too. For some reason, that's why we ended up with Arun and Carolina, which I'm thankful for. But go talk with Ms. Beland and tell her like WAMUN is like our time to work on. Like mentoring is our time to work on WAMUN. So talk to her and tell her, like explain to her, like she already knows, but like explain to her like, oh, can we keep like the people from the secretariat in the mentoring? Like we don't have to do the format of 2 9th graders, 2 10th graders and everything.
I think initially they were more concerned about me saying like, do you want a giant mentoring? And I was like, no, we need, so that's originally why it was that like that. And then when I told them, no, we need this time, that's when it expanded to like 20 people.
Yeah, because that's the time to work on mostly. So
Any last questions before it ends up, because it's going to end right now.
Less than a minute.
Bye everyone.
No, thank
See
you.
you.
Bye.
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 Thank you.
Yes.
Thank you all.